Ladies and gentlemen, in this RedGaming.com video, I want to discuss Microsoft's recent changes in stance regarding monetization of content, in other words, their games footage on YouTube and Twitch. So previously, in case you're not too familiar, Microsoft had not allowed this. It pretty much frowned upon it, in other words, you making ad revenue off of gameplay footage, for example, your Halo multiplayer matches. But now it's since reversed this policy, and it's actually become pretty friendly towards it. To put it in a simple phrase, it's given you explicit permission to make money off of videos on these platforms, but there are some caveats, and I want to discuss them in this video, because I actually really like the way that Microsoft have handled this. In case you're not too familiar with the whole copyright sweep situation from last year, I was about to say yesterday, from last year, and you probably are, a lot of companies got some flack because they were basically claiming certain videos. Nintendo definitely were one of them, Warner Brothers and a few others got on people's crap lists. And the whole, basically the boiling it down to the simplest possible elements is that people were creating footage based on, the company's game, putting it on YouTube. Like, for example, it could be just a funny montage, it could be help on a particular section, it could even be reviews, which should actually be covered under fair usage, but still some companies were still trying to claim it. Or in some cases it was just the automated robot, but once you tried to appeal against it, the companies would just basically say nope and keep their claim in place, which was a source of a lot of frustration for a lot of YouTubers, even including Angry Joe, for example. But moving on, companies now have gotten into a situation where you kind of know where you stand with them. Capcom are one of the odd ones. Stuff from the United States is generally fine, stuff from Japan, not so much. You've got companies like, say, Mojang, of course, which are very pro-YouTube, and then you've got companies like Warner Brothers, which just seem to be pissing off a lot of people right now. I've already discussed their rather shocking policies when it came to sponsored videos and deals for you to even be able to put up a review of Shadow of Mordor. But Microsoft have since made a really good decision. They are now allowing you to put up monetized footage of Halo and, for example, anything basically created or published by Microsoft Studios, and I think it's a really good move. I think it's actually a very smart business decision. Now, there are some caveats with this. For a start, you have to add a disclaimer. Now, that disclaimer says that name of Microsoft game at Microsoft Corporation, and then the title of your item was created under Microsoft's game content usage rules using assets from name of the game once again, and it is not endorsed or affiliated with Microsoft, which is cool. In other words, it's saying, hey, we created it using this content, and I think that's fine. You're giving the company credit. And to be honest, you should give the company credit anyway. Even when we put it news to videos, you'll notice at the top, we have that thing that slides over that says, hey, this was created by X and in this year. And I think that's kind of really what you should do. Not just for the fact that you're giving the company credit, but if you like the look of a game, particularly, say, a game you've never seen before, like an indie game, and you don't know who created it, it's really frustrating to be like, okay, I'm going to ask on a forum and link the video and say, hey, who created this? It looks kind of cool. So there are some other caveats. They're not giving you free permission. In other words, you can't go in there and say, well, you know what I really want to do? I'm going to create generic Shooter 3000. So I'm just going to go ahead and rip all of the content from, say, Halo 2. I'm going to use all of their assets. I might as well use their textures as well. And I'm just going to create a game based on that. Remix it a little bit and sell it for $14.99 on Steam. That's not going to happen. What they are saying is that you can create certain works based on their content. You can monetize videos, for example, but what you can't go ahead and do is use their assets to create like a feature film and then call it Halo. In other words, they're giving you specific controls. There are a lot of these rules, so I'm going to link to their to the usage rules in the video description. So you should definitely, if you're considering making something using Microsoft's intellectual property, I would suggest giving them a read over. But also there are some things such as you can't create videos based on hate speech and vulgar and lewd sex, promoting violence and so on, which I think is pretty standard stuff and pretty cool. Obviously, objectionable is really down to them. Which, you know, it kind of should be. So, what is my opinions on this? Because I know that Let's Plays are kind of a grey area for a lot of people. I personally think this is a very smart decision from Microsoft. There's a couple of reasons for it. One, people are going to upload this stuff anyway. It's going to appear. And what happens when you basically don't give permission for people to monetize it? Either A, they're just going to do it, and then you've got the whole frustration of dealing with either them directly or their partners. In other words, for example, the machinimas or whomever they're basically partnered with, trying to go through a whole thing, you know, is it fair use and so on. Particularly if it's a review, it makes it even more of a nightmare. The second point is people are going to put it up anyway, as I just mentioned, and generally speaking, if you're going to monetize it, if you're allowed to monetize it, the bigger people are more likely to kind of take up your game, and therefore, theoretically anyway, you're going to get better quality. Now, I do feel that Let's Plays should have some specific guidelines, and I've mentioned this previously. I think multiplayer stuff is cool, and I think single player stuff is pretty cool, but I do think there should be some guidelines on single player. Now, primarily, what pisses me off about the single player thing is when, and there's a lot of this that's popping up on YouTube all the time now, it seems to be like the big thing. You'll see it'll be like Halo the movie, and all they do is they'll be like Halo 1 the movie and Halo 2 the movie, and all they do is basically rip every single cutscene from the game, and then they'll just put it up and slap advertising revenue in, which is not kind of cool. Now, I don't mind, however, this is my opinion as a creator, but I think it's kind of cool when a game has multiple endings. For example, Dragon Age, Inquisition, there are so many different paths, so many different endings and so on. I think it's quite nice to kind of have those different endings. Even Mass Effect, of course, has multiple endings, and then you can kind of make a decision. Hey, oh look, I didn't go for that ending. I guess I could quickly look it up on YouTube just to see the difference. Admittedly, it is kind of spoiling the replayability, but if you're someone on limited time, you might not necessarily want to replay like a 100-hour game anyway. From the perspective of business and moving away from us as basically creators or consumers, as in someone who's watching the video, not a consumer as in someone's buying the game, I think from a business decision, Microsoft have made a lot of good choices recently. We're talking from either improvements to the SDK, to reducing the price of the Xbox over the Christmas period, and so on and so on. And I think this is another good decision. There are a couple of reasons for this. One of their biggest franchises, and let's just be totally honest here, it's not really, you're even going to be saying it along with me, is Halo. And while the single player of Halo is kind of cool, the primary purpose, I'm probably like one of the only people in the world that actually enjoys the single player more than the multiplayer. I'm probably like an anomaly. But most people are going to be playing Halo for the online component. They're, picking up their Master Chief Collection and reliving Halo 2 moments, or they're playing Halo 5 Guardians online, or whatever it is. And that's their thing. And it's one of the reasons that Call of Duty became so big. Yes, it's a cool game, Call of Duty, but there are YouTube channels which are just dedicated towards, here's how to use this weapon on this map, or, here's how to level up quickly, or here's how to gain, or unlock that. And it's a really good thing, because if you've got this, you're going to gain more fans, you're going to get like a community. And let's face it, that's how Minecraft kind of became a thing. One would argue that Minecraft is a good game. It's not something I'm personally interested in, but Minecraft is a powerful tool. But one of the benefits of Minecraft is the fact that you can use the game in so many different ways. But because Mojang have become so synonymous with Let's Plays, so synonymous with content creation. It's now gotten to the point where there are people who do everything from making adventure maps and showing them off, to silly adventures online, you know, kind of playing something with their friends, all the way down to, hey, look, I've just made, you know, the Starship Enterprise. And, you know, they're actually taking you a tour through all of the different maps, different decks and areas of the ship, and they're showing you that the engineering. And some people will do stuff like making, you know, little puzzles and whatever. It's cool. That's the fact. It's like, you know, you look at Minecraft on someone that doesn't even play the game, but I'll sometimes look at these videos and I'll just think to myself, holy crap, this person's put in so much effort. And you can just appreciate the mind that's gone into it. Not necessarily, you can't maybe necessarily appreciate if you haven't played the game. Oh, look, like this person's actually, you know, gone through this process to do it. But you can appreciate the creativity behind it and, you know, the accuracy that they've managed to portray. There are still some companies which aren't biting this bullet. They're not willing to do it. And unfortunately, most of them are Japanese. That's just true. I'd recommend, if you're kind of got 5 minutes spare, you check out a recent video from Angry Joe. I'm not exactly sure of the date, but it was around the time that Street Fighter V was announced, so late last year. And he put together a video where he was, let's just go with upset. A smidgen upset, where he was actually given promotional material on Street Fighter V. Like, he was literally given the trailer by Capcom. He was given loads of promotional artwork and everything else. And he put together this trailer, and then Capcom Japan actually basically removed his video, and he was close to getting some strikes over it when he was given the videos as kind of like, yeah, we're going to be covering it. And at first he thought it was a mistake. At first he thought it was like, yeah, you know, it kind of got automatically caught and they're just going to clear it right up. They didn't, and it was a massive fight on his behalf. And from his perspective, he was annoyed because he's a fan of the game. He was really excited about it as well. You could tell that he was, you know, genuinely really excited at first of the prospect of the game, and this just sucked all his enjoyment right out of it. It really did. And, you know, when you've got these people who are dedicated, when you've got these people who are loving every moment of this content, you know, that you're creating these games, and let's face it, the worlds that people are creating now in games are incredible. I've always said that one of my favourite stories is Mass Effect. Like, just everything about the Mass Effect franchise, just it elates me. Like, the music, just going through like a Mass Effect relay, playing as Commander Shepard, creating your character, even Dragon Age Inquisition. I've got to say that BioWare do some fantastic titles. Dragon Age Inquisition, when you're like playing the game and you're like learning different aspects of the character and going through the lore, and it's the same thing of so many different games out there. You're like, wow, these people have put in so much work, so much passion, so much awesome content, and it's really good to share it. And that community spirit is what you want. You want these people driving it, and it's the same with, you know, when you share my videos, it makes the content, it makes us bigger, it makes us stronger. And it's the same as when someone references something I've created. It's just an awesome feeling, at least to me. I've had people message me and say, hey, I've linked your content on a forum, hey, check this out, and this is what people are responding. I think it's really cool. So I really do applaud Microsoft for this decision. The reason I'm quite excited about this, there are some big companies that already allow this. Obviously, I've already mentioned Mojang, and I'm pretty sure everyone and their mother knows that Mojang are okay with this. But there are also some other big companies as well. Electronic Arts, they're cool. In fact, when this whole copyright mess first started, I actually wrote personally to Electronic Arts and to Ubisoft and a couple others, and I was like, hey guys, what do you think of this thing? You know, do you give us permission? What do you think? Like, you know, what's your stance on this? And they were like, yeah, it's cool, just, you know, respect our stuff. I'm obviously paraphrasing this. Don't, you know, respect our stuff, and, you know, we won't have a problem. And I respect that from those companies. And Microsoft furthering that, because let's face it, Microsoft saying this, it's a pretty big step, and I think it's quite cool. This is getting slightly off the beaten path, and I don't want to kind of go into this rant because I'll start getting quite pissed. But when I was talking about this whole Netflix and DRM issues that are so prevalent at the moment, and with different territories and regions and so on. Basically, what I'm getting at here is the internet, the way we're consuming media, the way we're consuming our entertainment, it's changing rapidly. You're getting these massive websites like, and I'm crying about this internally, by the way, because I remember reading these guys when I was a kid, like really, really young. But I remember reading like CVG, and now this website's closing down, which I think is an absolute travesty. I love CVG. I've still got like older magazines, right from the '97, when they were going through like the Saturn, the PlayStation, N64, and I was reading reviews on like GoldenEye. But now media is changing. The way you guys are watching us is changing, and the way you guys are interacting with everything around you is changing, and that's kind of the thing. And it's really cool, in my opinion. I mean, when I was growing up, the internet wasn't really a thing, and of course, it was so difficult. It was really difficult to get an idea of what a game looked like in motion. There were some demo discs that occasionally came out, like the official PlayStation magazines and the Saturn magazines and so on. You're pretty screwed if you're a Nintendo fan, unless they gave you like a VHS back in the day. But generally, you would, get the odd demo disc here and there, and sometimes they would contain some footage, or sometimes you get like promotional VHS and so on. But it was really difficult to get footage. And then, websites like IGN, websites like GameSpot started to come up, and now you're starting to get like Twitch, you're starting to get YouTube and various other websites which are starting to put that content out there, and people are loving it. People are kind of getting into it, and you're actually getting this, a community together, and that's how games are kind of, cool. And that's really what makes, it's fun for everyone, right? A good place to discuss, a good place to speak to people, a good place to communicate. And I love it, personally. So, well done to Microsoft for this change of heart. I really approve of this. Really nice going to everyone involved. And hopefully, more companies will make this decision. Anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. It's been nice to be quite positive on something, hasn't it? Well, at least for me. Yeah, anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. I'll see you soon. Take care, and bye for now.